youngsters. Great chance here! That does it! Steve McGavin! And for the first time, Colchester United have won a major final.
Still Garcia, finally the company arrives and it's in! It's a freak-out goal from Ricardo Carvalho. Richard Garcia wants the credit and the shock is on at the bridge.
And it's promotion for Colchester United. They've made it into the Championship for the first time in 69 years.
Porter, being held. There is Porter, and that's Maka!
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Barside, the podcast that covers all things Colchester United. I am Aaron J. A big thank you to those tuning in over on Apple, Spotify and YouTube, doing us a big favour there, but no bigger favour than those sharing the podcast on socials over on Instagram, Facebook and X. And it has been a really successful week for Colchester United as the U's run away 1-0 winners away at Bristol Rovers thanks to an Aurora Edwards rocket, and over on the women's side an emphatic 10-0 win over Fleetwood Town sees the U's marching on through to the next round of the County Cup. And we are going to start by reflecting on that Bristol Rovers win, where I was joined by U's fans Si, Dave and Aaron to get their opinions. Welcome to Beyond the Barside. I'm joined as ever by U's fan Si and Dave, and we're joined this week by U's fan Aaron. How are you doing, guys?
Good, thank you.
Good, thanks. Good. And obviously we are fresh off another 3 points away at Bristol Rovers. When we spoke last week, we sort of thought that we were going to come away with a 2 or 3 goal victory. It didn't pan out that way. Instead, we ended up coming away with the 3 points thanks to a spectacular finish by Aurora Edwards. Si, 17 days without a competitive fixture. The first half felt a little bit flat compared to what we've been used to but before the new year. How much of that do you put down to match sharpness, and how impressed were you with how the U's grew into the game eventually?
I think it was a combination of the match sharpness. We hadn't played the games. The fact that Bristol obviously gave a probably a different account themselves than we maybe expected from what their league form was showing before the Christmas break, and the fact that they played Plymouth last Tuesday, they apparently took quite a lot out of them. So I think we felt our way into the game. We never looked out of control. It was a little bit stop-start at times, but to be fair, I think we were just very much the normal U's on the front foot, looking to make things happen, maybe making rushed or poor decisions in the final third to not get ourselves the goal to the good, and especially the second half, we could have been outside, but if a couple of those shots got in, one off the post and one was then scuffed wide. But yeah, it was a game that we were saying in the stands that needed a moment of magic, and out of nowhere, off comes Aurora, a local lad from Bristol, playing for Bristol City, obviously Rovers' rivals, and yeah, out of nowhere, produced an absolute screamer.
Yeah, definitely. It was a heck of a finish that of course we'll come on to a little bit later, and it was one of the talking points of the game. Obviously, Dave, there was another talking point that perhaps isn't a talking point for positive reasons. LSE Ndolo suffered an injury quite early on. He was replaced by Frankie Terry. How disruptive to the game plan would that have been, and how concerning is that looking ahead?
Well, nothing happened in the first half apart from one thing, and that thing was bad. So, I mean, when it happened, he went down and straight away he signalled, and he was you could see his frustration. And I looked at, I turned around to the boys who were with me and I said, not him. Why him? Obviously, he has been, for me, our most influential player this year. We've just sent Josh Powell back. And then so we had limited options and Frankie Terry came on. And what I will say, I have previously said on this podcast, I don't think Terry is quite at League Two level, but full credit to him. It was relatively seamless yesterday when he came on. It didn't really affect us at all insofar as We were never really breached at the back. He was obviously we would have been a bit more dynamic when Ellis is on going forward, but he did what he could. And in the second half, he played it's quite between Frankie Terry and Rob Hunt, a lovely bit of football, a great run, a perfect pass. They're really tough, those passes just in behind. And Samson should have scored. And I think it's like there was a thing that went around Twitter a while ago. Someone scored an absolute banger from the edge of the box. I can't remember what it was. Someone for Chelsea something. And so whoever played the little pass across, someone said X player puts it on a plate. And I think Frankie Terry's going to get the assist for that 25-yard ripper into the top corner yesterday. So that's nice for him. I think he deserved that little tick in his column. So, but no, he did really, really well. I still think I have no medical background, but Ellis, he was able to walk off himself to the training ground. He was out with the players at the end. He didn't seem to have a brace on. He wasn't on crutches. So we might get lucky, but I would expect to know for a few weeks at least, just based upon how he went down. But again, and it was a real testament to the team that we continue to control the game completely. I mean, you said it wasn't quite like we said it would be, Aaron. To be fair, you did say 1-0.
I said 1-0, yeah.
Oh God. Yeah.
Sorry,
right, you said 1-0.
I said
Oh,
2-1.
just to really upset your thing about Ellis, he was spotted getting on the coach with a brace on his knee.
Ow.
And crutches.
So yeah.
So bingo, both used defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I don't put a negative thing on it, so sorry.
Well, it is what it is. So yeah, it could be a few weeks without him. So we'll talk later about what that might mean, I guess, for the team coming up. But that could be a few weeks. But yeah, the team really stood up. We had full control of the game the whole game, and we said while it was only 1-0 and it did take a moment of magic, I think it was a comfortable win.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys feel. So we thought it'd be comfortable. We were hoping for more goals. There should have been more goals. But yeah, it's as comfortable a 1-0 win as you could take away, where your winner was a ripper into the top corner from 25 yards with 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, 100%. I think many youth fans will come away from that performance, reasonably pleased. Yes, it was a 1-0. It didn't feel like a smash and grab, really.
No.
It felt like that the performance was vindicated by a 25-yard screamer from Aurora Edwards. Aaron, off the line, describes the performance on X as an intelligent performance from Colchester United. Do you agree with that assessment, and what stood out to you tactically?
Yeah, absolutely agree. The word that sort of stuck with me afterwards was professional. Just professionally got the job done what we needed to do. I think, as Dave's just mentioned, it kind of epitomised where we are now under Danny and Nicky than where we've been before, that it was a comfortable, albeit only 1-0 and need that moment of magic to actually win it, but a comfortable game where it felt like we were the only team that were going to win the game if a team was to win it. And it was always sort of when, not if, we were going to actually be able to get the ball to go in the net. We had a really good chance in the first half with Samson, where he went across the keeper and the keeper got down low and made a decent save. Obviously the one that hit the post in the second half, and then the chance Samson had when Rob Hunt had his moment of magic and got through there as well. So the really good moments, but I think we just, the positionally across the pitch and tactically, we stood up to what they had, and it didn't really give them a stiff. I don't think Matt Macy made a save that I can remember really. No. Obviously there's the chance after we scored that Gape blocks that didn't get given as a corner. But other than that, he really wasn't tested, and I think that really helped. Obviously, with Frankie Terry coming in to an environment where actually the defence weren't being tested to the extent that maybe they could have been. And I think, again, probably just to agree with what's been said already, I've also previously not seen as a centre back the potential maybe that others have in him, but thought he looked really composed and solid at left back. And actually, because Kane Vincent-Young's had a run of games and now is it looks more confident in starting to maraud forward a bit more and do what he used to do, there wasn't the pressure on Frankie's side of the pitch to have to do that, so he could just be a defender, albeit when he did have to do it, he did get himself forward and link up play quite well as well. So there was really, really good moments within the game yesterday where things just seemed to play the way we needed them to play to give us that opportunity to go and win the game. But I would say I thought Bristol Rovers were quite poor, to be honest. I think the word desperate was probably a good way of summing them up in terms of they were desperately trying to make something happen. They just didn't have the quality or the ability to do so. And I don't want that to detract from the fact we played as well as we did, and obviously deserved to walk away with the 3 points. But certainly for a Steve Evans team, I didn't see much to be impressed by.
I think we pushed them into that. I agree with you, but I think the first 5 or 10 minutes, I thought their press was really good. There was quite a few times where we were put under pressure. It sort of one of them ended in Ellis having to go off. But I thought the more we kept control of the game and just took anything they were trying to get and just didn't let them have anything, they just sort of reverted back to what has been their type this season.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise that was their 8th straight home defeat.
Yeah, I didn't realise after the game. And
they've only scored 8 goals at home. So
that's not great reading, is it? If you're a Bristol Rovers supporter, and obviously, Aaron, you mentioned the chances that we did have, and it sort of felt like after the third chance that maybe we weren't going to score. We had those opportunities. They didn't go our way. It looked like we weren't getting the rub of the green that perhaps we felt we deserved, and it sort of seemed like it was going to be one of those days. But Aurora obviously comes up trumps with a strike. But another clean sheet, solidly. We were defensively solid, weren't we? We were great at sort of managing what little threat Bristol Rovers posed. I know obviously Macy didn't have to make a save, but we were able to be quite compact enough to limit Bristol Rovers in a sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. That came to the fact their only real chance was one that had to come from range.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact, and this is what I think we're doing really well. We can play our style of football, but still control the game. I.e., we play counter flowing football as much as you want to, but we're drilled well enough to be able to play a good defensive game, which then obviously gives a lot easier going forward because we know we're going to be solid at the back. It's just mentally we are such a strong side. I think that's what's the game against Bristol Rovers showed. That Ellis got off injured. We've had a lot of injuries. It wasn't quite going our way. We were huffing and puffing a lot. We weren't getting the goal. Weren't getting the luck, like you said. But mentally, the players just dug in, knew there was that moment of magic that was there to be had. We just had to find it. And that starts from the way Macy played. Not having to physically do his job as a goalkeeper, but you can see he's still motivating those around him. That also then comes through Tucker, pushes it through to the midfield, pushes it through to the forward players who then feel that actually, Joe, what, I can have a go at something different. I think a lot of us saw that when Edwards tucked back inside, that wasn't the best move he could have done. He should have been better playing the ball back to Terry to carry on the overlap. But obviously he backed himself and we got all 3 points. So mentally, I think it was our strength yesterday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's we've said this phrase quite a lot this season, but in another year under a different head coach, potentially the U's don't go all the way over the line and get the 3 points. Potentially, we crumble and don't come away with anything at all. But Dave, it wasn't an emphatic victory, but it sort of felt like an important one. We're now 3 points off of the playoff places. How significant are wins like this in terms of the bigger picture towards the end of the season?
Well, I was actually after Big had hit the post, which was unlucky, really good effort. And then Samson missed that chance that he should have buried it. No, he had another good game. Samson ran himself into the ground, but he's got to bury those chances. And I was actually, and as it sort of ticks past 80, So between Samson scoring and Edward scoring, I was thinking, what am I going to say on the pod about this game? Because I'm always thinking about content, Aaron.
Yeah. You're a content
machine.
We know this.
Jinx. Anyway,
that's why you get recognised and cyanide.
Yeah, so 2-1 to me now. So shout out to Sydney Wilson, snooker player, who recognised me, shook my hand, listener, gets involved. So I'm 2-1 up on Cy now. So anyone at the grounds, I know Cy's way more recognisable than me, but I'd like to keep this lead. Anyway,
if they feel sorry for you, mate, that's all it is.
Oh,
They know you need to be loved. They need to be loved. That's what it is, and you need a cuddle.
I do. I don't have the media profile you and Aaron do.
Exactly,
I'm not
mate.
used to this. I'm not used to this lifestyle.
Media profile.
Anyway,
He's buying time, isn't he? When you feel like what he's going to say, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, stalling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably quite telling that I did come and because you moved seats, I didn't know where you were, so I came and sought you out to tell you that I'd been recognised.
He generally did it. He looked so happy, bless him. It's like the kid that's just opened a PlayStation. He's like, this is so fun.
Gliding up the
It was a good day. It was nice weather. It was my youngest, Connor, his first long away game.
Oh.
He was having a lovely time, and it was a good chain of events that gradually got better through the day. If you take out Ellis getting injured, but what I was going to say is I was thinking, is that the difference? If we don't get this win, those chances of that, is that the difference between us? We're a good team. We're a dangerous side to play.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the difference between us and the teams at the top, the Bromleys,
who
just get things done? And then, so I was thinking about that before Edward scored. So it stands to reason that we did go over the line. So I think we are a team, I think, that gets over the line in those games. So I think that is a really significant victory, almost as significant coming off the back of the MK game. To back that up against a completely different team in a completely different run of form away from home, a very different match. To do that and still go over the line with everything that's going on with injuries and players playing out of position, I think, we've shown that game makes me think that we're going to make it into at least the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I was listening to Not the Top 20s League 2 mid-season review,
me too.
and they sort of ruled us out on the basis that the depth isn't quite there, and other sides are getting the job done, which potentially does put them into the playoffs. But actually, if we're able to go to a place like Bristol Rovers with a depleted side, with two of our key players injured recently, obviously with Anderson and Ian Dolo, and still get the 3 points, does that put us in the conversation?
Well, what Wales they did say is because of that they put us just outside.
Yeah,
but they did say if any team is going to go on a run,
it's going to be us
between 5 and 10 games. It'll be us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and which you said last week. It's definitely within the realms of possibility that
it was this time last year we done that as well, wasn't it? This time last year we went
5-1-0s in a row or something.
Yeah.
It was, and I think Glenn mentioned as well that if we went on the run that we did last season during that sort of second half and got the points, a similar amount of points to what we got last year in the new year, we'd be looking at maybe 5th. So, certainly this is a decent time to put a string of wins together and go on a run and really cement our place in the promotion race, which I think we've got all of the capabilities of doing. Yes, we're depleted. Yes, we're thin on the ground, but we do have a real sense of cohesion and team spirit that I do think will go a long way in helping Colchester United this season. But obviously, Aaron, towards the end of the game, we're throwing the kitchen sink at Bristol Rovers, and Aurora Edwards cuts in from the wing and absolutely whips it into the far corner. I thought it was a brilliant strike. Bristol Rovers fans seem to be blaming their goalkeeper. Don't see how
That
they
is
can
harsh.
blame their
Not a
goalkeeper.
chance.
I think that's really harsh,
Yeah.
but they are. And I mean, just how big was that goal? Both in quality and in terms of confidence for Aurora. I know, earlier in the season, he had his critics, rightfully so at that point of the season. But since he's sort of come back into the squad, he's really been positive and he's shown that attacking threat. And it seemed like it had all paid off for him on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Danny sort of put it when he said himself after the game yesterday, Aurora played the MK Dons game. He played well in the MK Dons game and then finds himself on the bench yesterday. And his last words to Danny when he found out about the team selection was very much, "I'll be ready for whatever you need me to do." And he did, to be fair. He came on, he saw a game that I think he probably would have seen from the side, and there was opportunities there because Lisby had shown that the space was there and opportunities were there. And he came on really positively. And I think we've seen him do it before. You think last season, I think it was Walsall at home where he scored a similar goal to what he did yesterday, albeit yesterday's was slightly further out, I think. He's got absolutely no right to take the shot on there, but it just shows the belief that he's obviously got in himself to be able to go, I can back myself here. I'm going to knock that inside and wrap my foot around that. Because ironically, when you watch, pre-game when they're doing the shooting drills, etc., he doesn't look capable of putting that sort of power in a shot sometimes, let alone then doing that in a game situation where he found a way to do that yesterday. So it was just one of those. I think just the relief in that moment for him, for the fans, for the staff, everything. It just was quite fitting. I think the way that kind of goal was the one that won the game, and he deserved that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, as you mentioned, Si, being a Bristol lad himself, it probably felt quite good to get that goal and get one over on Bristol Rovers. Obviously, he played for Bristol City. I don't know whether he supports Bristol City or not, but he certainly has that affiliation with them, and hopefully he will have had plenty of support in the stands as well. So it would have been nice for him to cap off a decent performance with a goal. Didn't put out a one-word review this week. I'll be honest, 17 days without a game has put me at a bit of a loss. I've fallen out of routine, to be honest.
Got the entire format point.
I have, yeah, to the point that I wondered whether a Now TV subscription would have been a good option yesterday, forgetting that the 3:00 games don't get shown, so it would have been completely pointless. So that's
You're
how
so easily knocked off course.
That's
Don't do well with change, do we?
Don't
The
do well
3:00
with change,
thing,
mate.
that's not like even a new thing. That's been like since year dot.
Since the dawn of time, mate, and it's completely thrown me having that time without football to watch. But we'll still do the one-word review between the four of us. Si, what's your one-word review?
Psychological.
Yeah.
I just think because everything was how it all went, and with the injury to Ellis and the way we were looking for that moment of magic, and it was just, we just don't know when we're beaten. Our mindset has changed so much this year, and this is a game that really proved it. So psychologically, we were so much better. So psychological.
Yeah, psychological. I think that's perfectly apt. Aaron, what are you going for?
I think I threw mine out there earlier, but I'll stick with professional. I just think it was one of those games where we literally did what we needed to do, stayed in the game, and found a way. And Danny says that a lot about finding a way, but we've shown our ability to do that this season even more. So recently with the MK Dons and Bristol Rovers now, 1-0, keeping clean sheets, finding goals late in the game because we just give ourselves a chance to do that. So professional.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it goes back to what Dave said earlier in the season about players doing their job. And I think everyone in whatever role they're playing is definitely doing the job that they need to do to help the team succeed. Dave, what's your one-word review?
I'm going to say battle. I thought it was a psychological battle. It was a physical battle. And I think everyone stood up everywhere. And just a quick shout out to a couple of players. And again, another player who we necessarily criticised earlier in the season, but I thought could do more. But I thought Kane Vincent-Young was outstanding yesterday, defensively, and he is doing what I've been saying I want to do more, just trying to get forward a bit more. But yeah, he was absolutely superb.
There's more of him now than in his game that is memorable to us from his first spell in terms of
it's coming
the
back.
confidence is bringing that out, and he's never going to be as fit as he once was, but just the ability that he actually has, I think he feels comfortable now to let that show. And because I agree, I thought he had a really, really solid game yesterday.
Yeah, and just in the middle, I think Arthur Reed, his attitude yesterday and his willingness to do the really ugly side, to battle for every ball, the challenges he put in, the work he did facing our goal, when the couple of times they did manage to get between the lines, he was just outstanding. His attitude yesterday was he exemplified what this team are and what the Cowleys want. So yeah, I just thought they deserved a bit of a shout, and Araujo as well. He was just all the players. Let's just go for all the players and say their names.
You can like their name. Start right. Macy played quite well in goal. Then there's his two in front of him who just played quite well.
I do think Araujo, though, yesterday, he had, I think it was in the first half, a moment where he went to play a pass that didn't quite come off, and obviously he quite enjoys stepping out with the ball and looking for that pass down the line or over the top, and it didn't come off, and it was one of those where it could have gone either way for him, but he just bounced back immediately, and him and Tucker next to each other just didn't give up anything. And it's very easy to forget how young he still is, and inexperienced he is, but you just wouldn't know it. And same with Jack Tucker. He's, again, still relatively young in football terms, but he's leading our team as a captain and doesn't seem fazed by it at all.
Yeah,
and in the second half, the last 15 minutes, when they did start getting through long throws and just throwing balls in the box, Tucker was first at everything.
Yeah, definitely. I think the fact that we've been able to keep a clean sheet again is a testament to that back line, and really has provided us a nice solid base to build upon going forward. I know we've mentioned how threatening we are in attack, but it's nice to see that back four are starting to get their just rewards for consistent performances as well. But Si, Aaron, Dave, it's been great to chat to you. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and insights, and I will chat to you later as we preview the Fleetwood game.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Huge thank you to Si, Dave and Aaron there, and it is time for the Opposition View, where I was joined by EFL content creator and host of the Codcast, Ben Knapman, for his Opposition View. Welcome back to Beyond the Barside, and it's now time for our Opposition View, and I'm very pleased to be joined by EFL pundit, so to speak, and Cods Vlogs extraordinaire, Mr. Ben Knapman. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, very well. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to talking about the game at the weekend. I would say I'm looking forward to the game at the weekend, but I'll probably be lying a little bit. But always grateful for these opportunities. So thank you for having me on, mate.
Thank you for coming on. It's great to speak to you. And obviously, the reason we're speaking is Colchester United will be hosting Fleetwood on Saturday. Fleetwood coming off the back of not the best run ever. I know it's 4 losses on the bounce, 2 of them in the cup. I don't know how seriously and how much you care about the cup as a club. We went out far earlier than you did, so I think that says a lot about our intentions. But what is the mood like amongst the Fleetwood fans at the moment?
It's not good, Aaron, at the moment. It's one of those where there was a really good mood just over a month ago where Fleetwood beat Gillingham on the 20th of December at home. And that was, what, we're talking 31 days ago, 32 days ago. I think Fleetwood went 9th for that win. I think a couple of points outside the playoffs. They'd won back-to-back games, and it felt, tell you what, there's a lot of moving in the right direction. Then what come is a bit of a bump that Fleetwood all year haven't really been playing brilliant stuff, but they've got results often enough, especially at home, coming back to win games of football that probably they shouldn't have won. I'm talking the Harrogate game, the Accrington game, the Colchester game. They all won at home that they probably could have lost. Accrington's another one that should have been out of sight by half time. Salford at home and Swindon at home picks up points. Walsall the same. So they're picking up points at home where probably maybe didn't deserve to on the balance of the play. Away from home was probably not getting anything really, when maybe deserving the odd point or two. And then what's happened since that Gillingham game was Christmas. We've had a few injuries to key players. Finlay Potter, James Bolton's out long term. Jordan Davies has just pulled up for, we believe, a 2-month injury. Ronan Coughlin's came back from an 8-month injury, played about 3 or 4 games, got done his back in having a warm-up shot in Newport. James Norwood's out, and you've sold Ryan Graham, your star footballer, your top goal scorer on 8 goals, big link-up player, runned in behind, made movement, was the focal point of the team. When he wasn't in it, Fleetwood didn't look the same team. And ultimately, at the moment, we're struggling because we've lost Graydon, we've lost key injuries to key players. The game itself, Tranmere away, we lost 1-0, could have gone either way. Salford away, good point. On the road, there's a good side that spent a lot of money at the division. Grimsby at home was a horrid game of football that they scored a last-minute winner in a nothing game. The Port Vale game, Fleetwood had nothing in the game. Realistically, I thought it was very poor. Didn't offer much. Lost the game 1-0, but Port Vale were equally as bad. The Doncaster game went out in the Virtue. Horrific. Hand on heart. Not seen as bad performance under Pete Wilde as that. Could have been 8, if not more. And then Saturday against Cambridge, we just came up against a fairly depleted side. No energy, no rhythm, no intention to win the game. We came up against a really well organised, hard to beat, resolute, know what they are, good at the non-negotiables, good at, in defensive areas and can score goals and cause you problems. And ultimately we faced a very good side, a very good manager at the wrong time. And that's basically been it. And now it feels like just get these rest of the, I think we've got 20, 21 games of the season left. Just get them done and just get a new season, open up next year. But it almost feels like Groundhog Day once again.
With that in mind, I mean, is there any pressure on Pete Wilde at the moment? Are fans generally behind him? Are they split, or are they sort of united in a sense that they potentially want to see a change?
The issue is, and where I will say this, I'm a big believer in a certain style of football has to win games of football. Let's be honest about it. Any style of football has to win.
Mm-hmm.
If you play ferocious attacking football, Ian Holloway style that's winning, and they start losing, you cause naive that you're not defensive enough. Postecoglou played on the halfway line that he needs to adapt and come defensively more structured. When you are, say, Neil Harris at Cambridge, if they stop winning 1-0 every week and started losing 1-0, a bit like Gillingham have started doing, where they were 21 games unbeaten, but they only scored more than 1 goal in 2 or 3 times. Now they're not scoring the level of goals that they were before the weekend, obviously. So you get bad results, and it starts turning in the other direction. And that winning games of football, you think, tell you what, the style's not great here. Pete Wilde's style is very defensively organised, although we do concede a lot of chances. Very 3-5-2, use the flanks, get balls out wide, cross into the box, and it's very direct to the front man. And it is a style of football that, when it was winning, it wasn't pretty, but it was like, well, we're winning. And we've had a few ups and downs through the season. You thought, this is awful. And now you're seeing the catalyst of, you've lost your players, you're seeing a depleted squad, and you're seeing losing football to go along with the same football pretty much that was winning early in the year that wouldn't probably get called out. That's one thing I will say. So I think there will be a bit of pressure on Pete Wilde, but I think what's needed to be said that of Fleetwood's best 11, in my opinion, if you're playing a 3-5-2 under Pete Wilde, you've lost your left side centre half, you've lost your left wing back in Denver Hume, you've lost your middle centre half, so you've lost 3 of your back 5, you've lost Jordan Davies in midfield, and you could say you've lost Coughlin, who's obviously out injured, and Ryan Graham. So I would say you've lost 6 minimum of your thing. You could almost add Lewis McCann in there and go as a front 2. So you're probably losing 6 or 7 big players, and you take that out of anyone. You take your Mbicks, your Jack Paynes, your Tavides of Colchester. They will struggle, and it's the same at Salford. It's the same at MK Dons. If they lose players, they'll struggle. And I would hope to think that Fleetwood would think he's not really been back. This is the squad that he's got. The squad where it's in the league probably reflects of the whole squad overall right now because of the injury depletedness. So I think he will be under pressure. Personally, I think he should get to the end of the season, bring in his own season. And if we're still in this position in a year's time, that's for me when you go, you've had 2 years now with not seen an improvement. The style of football is rubbish, but the results aren't improving. That's where I would personally, I don't think it's fair. I worry if we lose at the weekend and don't beat Harrogate, I could see in a week's time Pete Wild not being Fleetwood's manager. And I wouldn't want that to happen right now.
No, I think, as you say, with the factors that are at play in the situation that you're in, it's potentially difficult for any other manager to come in and make that big change and do anything too differently to what Pete Wild's done. But looking at the side that played Cambridge, there's a mix. There's a couple of experienced heads within the squad that, when you're in a time of crisis, they can particularly pull you out of it, although a few of them aren't available for you to play at the moment. And then you've got some younger players in. Obviously, Colchester will know a little bit about Josh Powell, who's just come in on loan. What is the mix at the moment with Fleetwood? Where are the strengths? Where are the areas of development?
It's a very young squad. If you didn't know, Fleetwood Town have got a very good training facility at Pillfoot Farm. I believe it was built for over £8 million. Where there's a community college as it goes on. Obviously, the public can all use it. It's a brilliant training facility, and they've now been awarded with a Category B status for the academy, where they've got the dome and they've got the facilities there, and it's absolutely phenomenal to go up there as a supporter or just from an outside. If you look at it and you're thinking, this is League Two, this is little old Fleetwood Town. So they're bringing in their own players. Now, for me, that's well and good, but there's got to be a bit more of a mix of where these young players are now being reliant on every single week. And that's good, well and good. It'll happen in the season. But unfortunately, it takes away from the nitty-gritty on a Saturday where you need 3 points to go and get promoted. Instead of 2 or 3, we're relying on 5 or 6 and key players. And for me, it's too much. I think one's Caden Hughes, where he's a young player that he came in last year, got injured. He's come back in this year. He looks a totally different player because he's had that experience because he didn't want to, but he's been in, he's been out, and now he's come back in. And I always look at Brian Clough, for example, that with a young player, he'd put you in for 3 or 4, take you out, and bring you back in when he knows you're ready. There is some experience in there that at the moment that are available to Fleetwood. Elliot Bonds is one that I think you'll probably know from his time at Cheltenham. And obviously been at Fleetwood for a couple of years. Mark Helm, to be fair, is still a young player, but been at Burton and been at Fleetwood for a couple of years now. Will Davis in his first season of the EFL, so I think Jay Lynch is probably as experienced as they get in terms of goalkeepers. Time at Fylde and Fleetwood. Recently Rochdale. Other than that, it is a very, very young group. And you go through it and you're thinking, it's okay, but it's not the squad that we had at the start of the season. So, yeah, that's where we're at. We're a very, very good mix. And if I was Colchester looking at your team, you'll think we can get out Fleetwood in. I was there last year in March, and I think it was 3-0 in the end, wasn't it? And it felt like a really good momentum build. You correct me if I'm wrong, I think that day you went inside to the playoffs for the first time, and I think you'd won 4 or 5 in a row. You beat Port Vale on the Tuesday night, and you were very good, and you caused us problems then with the similar outfield problems that we've got now. So I could see the similar happening again on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's tricky with Colchester because what we've lacked in the last few years is that sort of identity and that style of play that and those core principles that we stick to week in, week out. And now that we've got that under Danny and Nicky Cowley, it has made us a bit more positive, a bit more resolute, and we've started to grind out a few more results. The good thing as well is we're not averse to sort of changing it to suit the style of play that the opposition bring. And I know obviously you guys playing with a back three, back five, similar to what Walsall do. We match them man for man, so there's always that possibility as well that we can try and match you guys man for man if we feel the need to. Obviously, you have mentioned there are a lot of key players out. There's a few key players that are potentially still in and can still cause Colchester problems. If you were to highlight and single out one, who would that be?
I've been asked this a number of occasions recently, and I think the name I always say is Ethan Ennis, that he hasn't maybe got the goals to show or the assists to show. I think he's only got 2 goals, 2 assists in the league, but 5 goals, 3 assists in all competitions. His purple patch has mainly come in the Emirates FA Cup. He's a very good player, can play left or right. He's wing back, up and down and bombing on, getting crosses into the box, twinkle toes, very scrunched back. And he's just I think a bit like Chris Waddle, where the way he runs like, very, a crunch back basically, and very old school. You can see that he's probably not been coached, which I think is the best thing for young footballers. I think they can just go out and express themselves and be them. And yeah, I think he's a standout. And I'm very surprised that he's with Fleetwood in League Two. I think next year, if there's League One clubs, I'll be very surprised if he's not at a League One football club playing 30, 40 times.
Mm-hmm. Wow, yes, that's some praise indeed, particularly making that move into League One. Obviously, I think a lot of players definitely can make that jump, but the actual putting that into practice sometimes is difficult. There's a wealth of talent in League Two, and it'd be good to see a few of the younger players make those steps up the pyramid and see where they can go. But just to sort of round it off, what is your score prediction for Saturday? You've given a sigh just for those listening. Are you seeing a Fleetwood win? Are you thinking maybe Colchester nick it?
My head's telling me 2-0 to you. My heart's telling me 2-0 to Fleetwood. I'm going to go with my heart, 2-0 Fleetwood. The pain's got to end eventually, surely. So I'm going to go for 2-0 Fleetwood. And I've been in those away ends over the years when you think it can't get any worse, and something clicks. It's footy, and if you ask me to pick, I'd love to win these next 2 away games just to give everyone sense around the football club. And I think that it would keep Pete Wild in a job till the end of the year, and it would just resolve. If we're going to lose next to it, the whole football club in the dynamic could change. So. Yeah, I'd love to win. I'm giving myself full sense of hope, but 2-0. Let's go for it.
So I like it. I like the fact that you're going for it, giving yourself hope. And sometimes just one result can really alleviate a lot of pressure around a club and on a particular manager. So, definitely. I think that's definitely something Fleetwood fans can hope for. But obviously, before we go, we need to talk about what you do. Just to sort of summarise it for youth fans listening, you're quite big on the EFL scene as well as Fleetwood specific stuff. Where can they find what you do?
Yeah, I do a little bit on YouTube and TikTok. Ben Natman EFL /COD vlogs on both, where I just talk waffle basically about football, League One, League Two, bit of Championship, but mainly League One, League Two. And Fleetwood fan, if you fancy coming over, having a chat, that's always appreciated. So yeah, thank you very much for having me on, mate.
Thank you for coming, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, pal.
Huge thank you to Ben there for sharing his thoughts and insights, and it's time to be joined again by Si, Dave and Aaron as we look ahead to the Fleetwood game. Welcome back to Beyond the Barside. I'm joined as ever by Si and Dave, and of course we welcome this week Hughes fan Aaron. How are we doing, guys?
Good, thanks.
Good, thanks.
There we go. Perfect. Obviously we've spoken about Bristol Rovers already, but the Hughes are back on home soil as we welcome Fleetwood Town, and the Hughes might be looking for for a bit of revenge, Dave, Fleetwood beat the U's 4-2 earlier in the season at their place. Do you think the U's are going to be looking for revenge? Does that result still carry any relevance going into this match?
I don't really think the result carries relevance. I think that performance does, because it was a bit of a catalyst, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone listening remembers, but the first half, we were absolutely sensational. Should have been 2 or 3 goals clear. Gave them a really bad goal. In the second half, we just collapsed and went back to the Accrington performance. There was a relatively recent to that, but it did seem to be a catalyst where you really felt in the games after the players that that's not who we are. That's not the team we want to be. So, and we're playing them at a good time, I think, because they've not scored many goals recently. I don't think they've won in 5 or 6. So it's a good time to play them. They've lost one of their key attackers, I believe, to Salford for a hell of a lot of money in League 2 recently as well. And they're a team I think we match up against well in all areas, because we certainly did in the away game in the first half. And they've recently signed Josh Powell, who I think started for them at the weekend. But I liked Powell. I think he's got a lot of potential, but we'll get on to what we think the lineup will be. But I think if Samson starts on the right, that physical matchup, it's not really a matchup. Powell versus Samson, then we just have to hit that time and time again, and Samson will run him over all day, I think. So it's definitely, we're in good form. They're not in great form. Their confidence is low. So I think it's another game we can really go at a team.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Josh Powell. So obviously he's a familiar face to U's fans, with us having him on loan as cover for Ellis Iandolo earlier in the season. Do you think he's the type of player who could potentially haunt his former club? Or do you think, as Dave has said, potentially that physical matchup with Samson Tavide could prove too much for him?
He's got, like Dave says, he's got the potential there, but he's not quite at it at the moment. I don't think we've really got too much to worry about even coming back to sort of be the ex-player that always scores goals against us, and we've got to worry about him in that respect, because we know what his game is. Danny and Nicky also do the due diligence of every team we play. I could have even more of an insight with him, having worked with him closely earlier in the season. But him v Samson is very David versus Goliath kind of thing. It's like men versus boys. We want those sort of matchups that, if it goes how everyone probably sees it going, could almost end up being a bit painful to watch.
Painful, Payne. Is that a pun?
I'm not that
it's not that clever.
It's a very forced pun.
Yeah, I'm not
very forced pun, but
I didn't even think that you've kind of put that into it. No, mine was just pure the physical pain of watching someone get absolutely steamrolled. But the good thing for us will be we'll be one doing the steamrolling, so it won't be too bad in that respect. And I think obviously we lost them like we did earlier in the season, but we'll just go out, do our thing, play our game, and know that what we do well, and get a result.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's certainly going to be an opportunity for Samson to cement his place on that right-hand side. I think he's done a very good job there in the games that he's played there, and I think this only furthers his case to start there regularly. But Aaron, obviously the previous game, Ellis Iandolo gets injured. He's potentially unavailable for the Fleetwood game. Do you expect the club to look at maybe bringing in a loan signing, or do you think Frankie Terry did enough to stake a claim?
I think it will probably change the priorities in terms of looking at whether we need more cover in that area. Obviously, the irony of the fact that we've just let Josh Powell go back, who is a left back, and he's now playing for the team that we're playing this weekend, is not lost on any of us. It's just obviously a shame it's come at the cost of Ellis picking up an injury, because he's head and shoulders above any left back in this league. I'd quite happily say. I think it depends on how we want to set up though, because I think Frankie Toe will do a good enough job at being solid and putting his foot in when he needs to and doing that. So if that's sort of how we want to set up, then absolutely no qualms with him sort of playing that role. The other option you then look at is you've got Rob Hunt who can slot back in there, although arguably I think I see Rob Hunt more as a centre mid than I do a defender nowadays.
I think I do too.
He's much better there because he's actually a very intelligent player. But pace wise, etc. I think actually being in the middle there suits him better. So I'd be inclined to go with Frankie Terry just because he's had the experience playing there this season as well. I don't want to see Javier Araujo moved over there, which we tried once earlier in the season because he didn't look particularly competent at left back as he does at centre back. And then I think as long as we keep that solid base, I think Fleetwood have only scored 2 in their last 5. Or something as low as that. So I think as long as we sort of set a solid base in the back line there, and they've lost, one of their main goal scoring threats as well to Salford, as Dave mentioned, I think Frankie would be fine to slot in there, and it would give the freedom then in front for the sort of more creative players to do that. Whether that be, I think, talking about Powell specifically, Samson, that matchup will be very hit and miss as alluded to. But regardless whether it's Samson or if it's Kyrese or if it's Awura, because pace wise they're going to have Powell as well. So I think there's some good options there for us in terms of how we can then put them on the back foot and really go at them.
I think it depends on Bishop's fitness. If Bishop's fit to start, I think Hunt goes to left back. And if he's not, it'll be Terry.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean,
they played Powell as a wing back the week against Cambridge on Saturday. So they're playing with wing backs, which would be more interesting because a few times we've seen Powell when he has been getting forward does get caught out in that sort of no man's land of not sure whether he should be forward or back. So that could also play their favour.
He was a I don't know if flatters to deceive is the right way of explaining it, but I remember the Oxford game and I sort of watched Josh Powell make his debut for us then, and I came away from that game thinking, God, Forest have done it again. They've got another good player in their youth team that we've managed to get hold of. And then after that, he just never quite got to that level again. I think there was a Virtue Trophy game, if I remember correctly, where I think Josh Powell spent the first half on the floor tripping himself after having tripped himself over several times more than he did on his feet. And he just looked a complete miles apart from the player that we saw at Oxford that first game. So I guess there's that element of we don't know what we're going to get from him. But as I said, if they're playing him as a wing back, then yeah, we know he's got the ability to get caught out higher up the pitch. The centre backs are then going to come across to try and cover that, which should give that space in the middle, which is where you're looking at Payne picking up those pockets and obviously and Vic as well to make use of that. So that could play into our hands as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's always useful when you're playing against someone that you know their strengths and weaknesses, and obviously Danny and Nicky will be doing their due diligence in terms of pinpointing Josh Powell as a potential player that they can get the better of, but of course understanding the strengths that he has as well. Dave, looking at Fleetwood's side, obviously they have just lost one of their key threats to Salford. Who do you see as their main threat that Colchester need to be wary of?
Well, they are more of a collective, really, and as we've said, Aaron just said, they're struggling to score at the moment. But I think where they can get us is they're quite good. Like Jordan Davis, who scored a really good goal against us up there, arriving late into the box, and that is one area where we can be got at sometimes, especially if it is and this isn't a criticism, but obviously a product of having, if Bishop does play, Reed and Bishop together, don't always have that instinct to get back into that danger zone. And there's a couple of games earlier in the season. It was earlier in the season, and they've both picked up a lot since then, and they're a lot more solid. But sometimes we can be susceptible to that. But to be honest, that's all really. I mean, Powell, we know he does have decent. He can deliver a decent ball. So as long as we can sort of stop that source. On the other side, I'm not sure if he's injured actually. Denver Hume.
think he might be injured at the moment because he didn't play this weekend.
Okay, yeah, because he got something ridiculous, 20 assists last year for Grimsby from right back and right wing back. So as long as we stop the feed in to the forward, because I don't really see they've not got much pace up front. I can't see anything that I don't think Araujo or Tucker can't deal with. So I think if we can just sort of track their runners from midfield where they are, which is their main danger. I think again, I can see it almost almost a bit like the Bristol game, where it'll be cagey. It might be tight, but I think ultimately it'll be comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got to be clever in the way we approach games in terms of if we go all out and potentially risk being on the back foot, whether it be losing a player to yet another injury or conceding an early goal, then we've got to sort of be clever in terms of building the game up and building up the performance. But obviously, you've mentioned it already, Dave, and Si, I'll put this question to you. Fleetwood aren't in great form at all. I mean, they're coming off the back of 4 straight defeats. I think they drew before that, so they've not won in at least 5. How much does their current form count for in a fixture like this?
I suppose it depends how you want to look at it. Like, to me, League Two is so difficult to go above form because on the day any team can really beat any team. But you'd like to think because we've got the confidence and the bit between our teeth, how we're playing, we've obviously backs against the wall, mentally we're so strong, resilient this season, and come up against a team that obviously are struggling in all departments. You'd like to think it will give us the sort of more confidence if you like get into it, but at the same time we end have to look at the other foot of we can't go in it overconfident because these are the sort of games that traditionally coaches have tripped up on in the past. So I think we just need to treat it as another game. Don't get too hooked on what their form's like, what they've done previously. Do our homework, see who they've got, how they're going to play, what they're going to set up like, and just go out and realise we're at home, play our game, and come what may, we should get across the line. But I think Dave's right. It will be a lot more cagey. It won't be as free flowing as we'd maybe like.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's going to be an interesting performance. Obviously, we don't have Ellis, we don't have Harry Anderson, but we do have players that are potentially building up fitness and are gradually making their way back. Aaron, given the current situation, how do you see the U's lining up for this game?
I don't think we'd expect too much change from what we saw yesterday against Bristol Rovers. I think the core of the squad will remain as is. I think the question mark will be the Rob Hunt, Frankie Terry sort of left back situation we've referenced. But that will depend on whether we've got an option to come into the centre of the park to allow Rob Hunt to slot back in there. Other than that, there's potential you look at Aurora, given that we've got Saturday, Tuesday with Fleetwood followed by Grimsby. Do you maybe go with Aurora on the Saturday and Kyrese on the Tuesday or vice versa? So there's potential options to mix that around as well. But I think it'll be relatively unchanged personally. I don't think we're going to try and change too much, nor do we need to.
No, definitely. I think you're coming off the back of a decent win at Bristol Rovers. You sort of stick with the side that have got you the points, unless there's an injury somewhere. You never know. Yeah. Potentially Teddy Bishop is fit to play, and that could put him into the midfield. It could move Rob Hunt into the left back position. We could stick with Frankie Terry. Other than that, I can't see there being all too many changes being made. But obviously, it's a game that we're going to go into high in confidence, which I'm hoping does influence our score predictions this week. Si, how do you see us getting on?
2-0. And it will be Sampson and Lisby scoring.
Sampson and Lisby. Yeah, I'd like to see Sampson.
I just think it could be one of these games where we go and sort of put 6 goals past the team, but I just feel how they're going to be with their nerves. They're going to be very sit behind the ball, very cagey, look at it, make it hard to break down and almost play for a draw from the off. So it won't be maybe as free flowing as I'd like. So yeah, I reckon we'll get 2 past them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great shout, and I feel more confident predicting clean sheets now. We've got a few under our belt. Dave, what are you thinking?
I think it'll be 3-0. But like you said, Si, I've got a good feeling that Samson's going to be really influential. And
Do you see him scoring?
he's going to get 2, I think.
Well, there we go.
He's
Samson
going to
brace.
get
I
2,
like it.
and who else? I'll leave a random one to you. I'll say Lisbia. I think their pace and power is really gonna trouble Fleetwood. I think they're both going to get good chances.
I think that's fair enough. You've obviously left me with a rogue one that I'm going to throw out there.
Aaron can do a rogue one. He is a rogue.
That is true. Yeah, go for it, Aaron. What are you thinking?
Well, to be fair, 3-0 was the scoreline I was going to go with. I think just because of the lack of goals that was mentioned from their side, I'm confident around the clean sheet side of things. And I just think with the space that we'll potentially get from what we've spoken about with the wing backs, etc. So I'm gonna say Jack Payne will score. I think Lisby, just because he seems to be a threat against any team in terms of popping up. And it'd be good to see, as much as I want Samson to be scoring as well, but I think it'd be good to see Mbik get a goal. He's on a bit of a lean spell for him, and by his standards in South this season. So it would be nice to see him get one as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, complete agreement there. I'd quite like to see Micah Mbik pop up with a goal, because obviously he's a great talent and he's put in a great shift for us over the last few weeks and months, and it'd be nice to see him back on the score sheet. I think I'm gonna follow Si's example, and I'm gonna go 2-0, and I'm gonna go Mbik. And obviously I've been left with the rogue one.
Yeah, Aaron didn't take the bait.
No, he didn't take the bait.
We're going to go for Vincent Young.
No, because I do that quite a lot. I'm going to go for J.K. Gordon.
Okay.
Yeah, because he might not even play, mate.
Squad.
That's the jeopardy.
That's how rogue he's got.
He might not even be in the squad. So, but I obviously won't go too ridiculous. At least he's an attacker. So if he does come on, he might get an opportunity. So I'll go Mbik and Gordon. But Si, Dave, Aaron, thank you very much for joining me. And I hope we're all correct and we get a clean sheet and we win the game.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
There you have it. There is another episode done and dusted of Beyond the Barside. Huge thank you to Si, Dave, Aaron and Ben, and a huge thank you to you guys for tuning in. Please feel free to leave a comment, a like, a share, anything really to help share the podcast with as many U's fans as possible. And I will see you next week. Up the U's.